Alrighty, here we are. Hey guys, how you going? Welcome back to the Enfield Guy. Really quick episode today. I just wanted to talk about a pretty exciting development that's happened in the Royal Enfield universe. Today we got a glimpse of the all-new Royal Enfield Flying Flea. When I say all new, it's a variant on what we already know, so let's jump into it. So what I was saying at the beginning of the video there is that we're revisiting or looking at the all-new Royal Enfield Flying Flea, but it's not what you think it is. It's an all-new electric motorcycle from Royal Enfield. This has been in development for probably about the last 10 years, discussions, and then going through the whole, building up the EV sort of capabilities within the brand. But it launched today. It's in Milan, Italy. There was a presentation to, I guess, global press. This is just ahead of EICMA, which happens in a couple of days. I love how Royal Enfield got the jump there without, releasing it at EICMA. They've probably got something else in store there, so watch this space as well. But it's a beautiful bike that they've produced. I think not just aesthetically, but if you think about the social sort of responsibility, corporate sustainability, things like that. It's time that they stepped into the EV space. So I'm going to roll a quick video now. That's the promo video of the Royal Enfield Flying Flea EV, and we'll have a bit of a more detailed chat about it afterwards. You can see the production value for Royal Enfield has definitely stepped up over the last couple of years. There's a lot more sort of, creativity, open thinking as well when it comes to design and what they're wanting to achieve. It's it's a really cool video. I really liked it. Hope you guys did too. So to have a think about the Flying Flea, if we go back in Royal Enfield's history, a lot of you may know, some of you may not. The Flying Flea was originally developed for British troops back around the World War II time. They were primarily designed to drop behind enemy lines. So when the British troops would advance, they would pick up these motorcycles. They were a single cylinder, 125cc, really small, agile motorcycle that could be, pretty much lifted up and thrown over obstacles, but allow troops to cover great distances in a short amount of time. They had a purpose-built frame around the motorcycle that was bolted on with just a few bolts and a parachute, and they were dropped out of the back of aircraft. And that's where you can see there's a bit of a nod back to the original Flying Flea with the parachute, the whole sort of terminology about drop and all that. But it was one of those things that it was such a famous part or important part of the Royal Enfield history, their brand, their tapestry, that, I really like how they're reusing or revitalizing or reviving, I should say, the older models and giving them new life. So it's good to see the Flying Flea back in the stable, but it's not just about one model. So the Flying Flea is taking on the let's call it the new universe within the Royal Enfield, let's call it Galaxy, right? So they're basically, every electric bike is coming under the Flying Flea brand. So what they've announced today is that there is a the Flying Flea commuter. So that was on stage, and I'll have some pictures coming up about exactly what it looks like, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's actually the same colour as my tank that I had on my Interceptor a couple of years back, which is, I don't want to give away trade secrets, but an old VW Golf, I think Yucca Green is the colour that's been sort of revitalised. So they've showed that variant today, and what they've really sort of tried to hone in on is, they think back about the last 10, 20, 30 years of how the development has gone from or even beyond that, back into the 50s, where manufacturing started with one brand. They had one platform to work with, which was Bullet. They had a couple of hundred people in one factory in Chennai, or Madras as it was known back then. Maintaining these motorcycles, building these motorcycles, and the parts division as well, and getting them out to people all around the world, mainly in India at the time, but it was a pretty one-dimensional operation. They were bursting at the seams, and they talked about the evolution of Royal Enfield and how it's got to now be the number one in the mid-segment motorcycle sort of category. So that's anything from 350 to about 750, and they absolutely dominated. I think they've got something like 80% market share, or 89% market share in India. Globally, it's still building, but it's a pretty impressive number. So what what they talked about today was sort of phase one is going through that the petrol variant, sort of keeping that brand alive, and then getting to a point now where they're absolutely dominating that space. And Sid talked about how Sid Lyle talked about how they were wanting to go into this next phase, which is the EV market, which not a lot of let's be frank, not a lot of companies have done very well in motorcycles. It's always been about wanting to go greater distances. All the bikes that have been built, and I've been watching plenty of EV content online for motorcycles. All the batteries are just absolutely enormous, and they weigh an absolute ton. And to look at as well, they're not exactly sort of striking, or a motorcycle that you sort of would take down the road. And if you take away the whole green aspect of it, the ones I've seen, I wouldn't be incredibly proud to say, oh, this is a great bike to ride around. But Enfield being Enfield, they like to sort of disrupt the space. They don't necessarily follow everyone else, and what they've done is they've created or recreated the idea of a bike, the Flying Flea, but given it the new sort of modern flair with an electric motor. Now, the details of which I'll bring up on the screen as well. I won't go into too much detail because the launch didn't absolutely go into the range, which I believe is about 120 kilometres. Charging times, price, and things like that. So we won't go into that video or into that detail on this video today. It's more just to sort of make you aware of this is coming. But the bike itself is, there'll be pictures of it coming up now. It's just beautiful. It really does talk to the older Flying Flea from the 40s, and I think the styling of it is just magnificent. This is something that they call like a city plus or urban plus motorcycle. So it's something that's going to be lightweight and nimble enough to get you, commuting in and out of the city, going to work or wherever your workplace is, and then some. So if you're wanting to go, say if you're in Sydney, if you're commuting from, out west or the northern beaches or down south into the city, you could then sort of go on for, an additional, 20, 30 Ks and then return home. So I think the range will be somewhere in that 100 to 120 kilometre mark. And again, that sort of speaks to Royal Enfield's, mid-segment philosophy, where they're not trying to build the biggest and hugest thing to conquer all markets, but it's just a segment they're looking at to start with, and then to dominate. So, the bike itself is just stunning. The front forks that they've re-engineered or redesigned, Mark Wells and the team have done a great job with that. From looking at the old Flying Flea, they've tried to pay tribute to that as well. it's just something to me that, you know, is needed, it's necessary. I'm not going to go into the debate about are we ready for EV, you know, globally, wherever you're watching this from. Some places are really well equipped. Some are, like for Australia at the moment, it's, you know, you definitely can make EV a viable option, but it does depend on what your timing sort of, you know, schedule is like. But I'm not going to go into all of that because it's going to open up a can of worms. But yeah, hats off to Royal Enfield for taking this step, and you know, they'll definitely be a leader in this. They've acquired, I think it's about I could get this wrong, let's say 15% stake in Stark, which is an EV company who they've partnered with as well to bring this to us. So, you know, that's a pretty it's a pretty bold move to do that, to partner with an established company and bring something a new model out. And this has been pretty quick too, from what I recall. I mean, I always keep tabs on, you know, LinkedIn and other websites when I see all these roles come up for EV, you know, designers and you know, manufacturing subject matter experts. And it's only been in the last 2 years that this has really ramped up. So they brought this out pretty quick, and that just is a testament to, I guess, the facilities that Royal Enfield now have, you know, being in the UK, in Bruntingthorpe, and then in Chennai as well, to be able to design and test and, you know, have great minds sort of bring this together. So, look, I'm rambling on a bit. I'll show some more footage of the bike and what it looks like. But some other really interesting things that they mentioned were that there's a scrambler variant as well, and they did give some specs on that. So that's probably going to be released or announced in a bit more detail in a couple of months' time. I would think that this is probably likely to be, they'll have variants of it at Motorverse this year, 2024. They're probably taking orders maybe towards the end of the year. Maybe they're open now. We'll have to double check that. But I'd say delivery is probably going to be sometime next year, towards the end of next year, maybe early 2026. But the Scrambler variant looks awesome. And, you know, it kind of looks like there are a few electric, you know, quite a few electric, I guess, off-road type bikes at the moment. This will fit, you know, right in there and be, you know, a welcome addition. So, look, it's really, really exciting to see this happen. It's a you know, a brand new, you know, direction for Royal Enfield. They're not forgetting their heritage by any means. There's way more sort of petrol variant, you know, models coming. But this platform, the S6, I think they're calling it, or the EV platform, you know, it's exciting. It's going to develop as the technologies develop. You know, and like I said before, looking around the world, you know, ports for charging, things like that. You know, I would imagine that there will be some pretty advanced technologies for home, you know, for plugging into just, you know, your average wall socket and getting good charge overnight, enough to get you, you know, 40 kilometers, something like that. There'll be some kind of, you know, little Easter egg or some, you know, little treat that Royal Enfield have thrown in there, you know, worked on some technology. So, look, it's really just sort of a first glance at what this is going to look like. I think I've covered everything I wanted to say. Have a look at the Royal Enfield website under Flying Flea. They're coming up with their own brand identity, which is the parachute. It's got, you know, the lightning bolt through it for electricity and things like that. So there's going to be an entire you know, division of Royal Enfield called the Flying Flea that will cover all the electric models that are coming out and all the news around that. And you can subscribe to their, it's like a mailing list, I guess, to get updates on it. But, you know, it's it may not be for everyone. I think the design is absolutely awesome. It's one of those bikes you could buy now and, you know, absolutely ride, but I'd be quite happy to just have one and just plonk it in a, you know, if I had a big warehouse and, you know, had bikes on show, it would just be beautiful in there. It's a really, really classic design. So, look, hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Get out there on Google, have a look at this. It's going to, you know, be generating a hell of a lot more social media over the next couple of days, especially with EICMA happening. And we'll have some other surprises from EICMA as well, I'm sure, from Royal Enfield. And thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next vid. Cheers.